Today, I'm here with Chelsea Clinton. She wrote this book, and this book. Chelsea, I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you, Meg. I'm very happy to be here.
I have invited you to Let's Talk Books, and I've asked all my authors to bring a book, and I see that you have brought one of my favorites.
Yes.
So what did you bring?
So I let my children vote. So I have 3 kids. I have a 9, 7, and 4-year-old. And they all really wanted me to bring a Berenstain Bears book.
And so what is it, do you think? What's the magic of the Berenstain Bears? What do you think is so enduring about them?
And so I think that for our children, it feels maybe less intimidating that they're bears and not people. And so I think it's just a kind of easier entree into actually the harder questions, at least what we found in our family through animal characters. And certainly the Berenstain Bears are wonderful animal characters. And I think too, it's a family full of such kind of love and support for one another. Like they make fun of each other and they tease each other and they prod each other and they challenge each other. And yet there's always this deep sense of kind of love and we're in it together as a family.
Tell me about your reading life when you were little.
I loved to read as a kid. I learned to read like fairly early on. My parents really encouraged me to learn to read. I loved reading on my own. I loved reading with my parents. I loved my parents still reading to me even after I'd learned to read. I have in like such wonderful memories that I already mentioned, the Berenstain Bears, but I also really did love reading Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, and then the Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys together, and Harriet the Spy and Encyclopedia Brown, and I love detective books as a kid, and I have to say I still love detective books.
Yes, me too. I loved Nancy Drew because of that car and her friends, George and Bess, remember? And nobody ever questioned Nancy Drew's ability to solve a crime.
No one ever questioned her ability to solve a crime, but I will say now as a parent, I'm like, what was her father doing? Because she is this teenager and she's like, I have to go off to Tahiti to solve this crime or wherever she was going. So I realize now part of what made it kind of so extraordinary and actually in some ways so accessible was the total implausibility of like the underlying circumstances. And yet, to your point, Meg, like you never doubted as a reader that she was going to figure it out. And I think that's quite empowering for any reader, but particularly for girls.
Were you as a kid interested in nonfiction? Where did that sort of interest begin for you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I was interested in nonfiction in kind of the most comprehensive sense. I remember going to my school library. I spent a lot of time in the school library at Booker Arts Elementary in Little Rock, Arkansas. And yes, like checking out the Nancy Drew books. Once my parents said that no, like I couldn't have an advance on like another allowance to go to Brentano's to like buy another book. Brentano's in the Park Plaza Mall in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so that, you know, made me a very kind of avid library devotee. And everything from like the National Geographics and like learning about other parts of the world and just how extraordinary it felt to me as a little kid in Little Rock to be able to see kind of what our national parks look like in different parts of our country or kind of what other parts of the world or maybe the deep recesses of the ocean looked like. And I loved history books. I've always loved history. And so, you know, checking out books about the ancient pharaohs or kind of what had happened in China 1,000 years ago or Europe 500 years ago, always just felt like, you know, as the trope goes, like a portal into a different time, but also into different places. And so always loved nonfiction as well as, of course, my fictional detectives.
Yeah, I love nonfiction too. And I just think that there are always kids in a classroom, in a family that like to know.
Yes.
They want the facts.
Very fun conversations. I think sometimes we think like fun conversations with kids are only around bears or frogs or puppets, but often super fun conversations where we can learn a lot about the world around us, but also our kids' minds and kind of how they're thinking about the world and what questions they have can very much be possible through nonfiction as well.
Oh, completely. So in She Persisted, do you have a favorite persister? Yeah, one of the women in your picture book that really stood out for you?
Gosh.
I know, they're all dynamic and
it's
incredible.
Very hard. I mean, I think that I was very close to my grandmothers, and particularly my mom's mom, who sadly passed away a number of years ago, but I got to know her as an adult, and in the last decade of her life, spoke to her almost every day. I tried to talk to her every day, but sometimes she'd be out gardening and couldn't come to the phone. She's too busy. And I think the people in the book that I feel really connected to are the people that I remember her bringing into my life as figures she wanted me to know. So Harriet Tubman and Helen Keller, and sort of these women that had been incredibly inspiring to her. And in a later She Persisted book on sports, Wilma Rudolph, I really remember my grandmother talking to me about what it was like to watch this just extraordinary American woman on television, obliterate the competition, yes, but also kind of records along the way. And so the stories I think that mean the most to me are the ones that meant the most to my mom, but particularly to my grandmother. It's just such a blessing.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you came to chat with me about books. Thank you for being part of Let's Talk Books.